two bits of news that came out on Tuesday in Rutgers athletics world. One pertaining to the Rutgers men's basketball team in terms of the Players Era Festival in Las Vegas on Thanksgiving week. And then also big news about the future of apparel and shoe brands with Rutgers, Adidas now off the table, and Nike very much in play. A lot of great reporting there. Let's start with the scheduling change for Rutgers men's basketball. The Players Era Festival ended up getting a waiver from the NCAA and was able to now change the format for the third day now being a championship setting. So for an 8-team tournament, they had 2 pods of 4 teams, and it was going to be just a round robin to get around the MTE restrictions with the NCAA. They were able to get around that. There's a quote from Seth Berger, CEO of the Players Era. Quote, credit to NCAA President Charlie Baker and Men's Basketball Oversight Committee. They're moving college basketball forward at light speed. A number of common sense changes are now happening under his leadership. This means there will be hundreds of millions of dollars available to college basketball players. Players Era is proud to be a small part of this progress. Now it's all systems go. Quote, the 24 Players Era Festival with a high caliber of teams and the $9 million of NIL compensation per the players was already going to be special, now becoming one tournament with a championship day. This has gone to the next level. So instead of playing Houston on that Saturday, Rutgers will no longer play them. Tuesday, November 26th, they are still going to play Notre Dame, airing live on 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Then they play Alabama on Wednesday, November 27th into Thanksgiving morning, starting at 10. And then now they will be placed in the championship day for Saturday based on those results. So there will be a 7th place game, 5th place game, 3rd place game, championship game, similar to how Maui is, and several other high-profile 8-team tournaments in Feast Week and beyond. And what's interesting here is what the tiebreaker is going to be, because you could have a scenario where multiple teams have the same record and it's not so easily slottable. This is a tweet from John Fanta, friend of the podcast, had him on several times. We'll have him on again this season. Quote, John Fanta, the inaugural Players Era Festival has announced it will be a single multi-team event with matchups remaining the same on November 26th and 27th, moving to a championship day, TBD matchups on November 30th. Following Wednesday's games, each group will be ranked 1st through 4th. And after a head-to-head record, seeding will be determined by total point differential in group games, capped at 20 points per game, then total points scored and fewest points allowed. The top seeds from each division will face a championship game, with the rest of the standings filling out 3rd, 5th, 7th. So some interesting tidbits there. But from a scheduling perspective, Rutgers, the nice thing about Houston is it's going to be a high quad 1 game, and they no longer have that. However, Alabama's still a high quad 1 game, most likely. Houston's number 1 in the Ken Palm preseason. Alabama is number 4. So they still keep that. Notre Dame's right now number 69. Now, to remind you of what the net and the quads are, in the net rankings, it's 1 through 50 on a neutral court. It's quad 1. 51 through 100 is quad 2. So you're looking at Alabama is definitely going to be a quad 1, probably a high quad 1. You're looking at Notre Dame, worst case quad 2, potentially a quad 1 game. And then your mix of 4 different opponents. And another thing in terms of this waiver from the NCAA, Rutgers now could potentially play Oregon, even though they are Big Ten Conference mates now. They're scheduled to travel to Oregon in February. So that's a big change for this waiver also. But you have Creighton at number 12 in the Ken Palm, Texas A&M at number 16 in the Ken Palm, Oregon at number 29, and San Diego State at number 48. So you're pretty much looking at 3 definite opponents that would be quad 1 and potentially a 4th, which worst case would be quad 2. So from a scheduling standpoint, worst case, you could have 1 quad 1 game and 2 quad 2s. But you still have the possibility of having 3 quad 1 games all on neutral court, and probably, Notre Dame's slated as a quad 2, and then hopefully you get another quad 1 in that championship day wherever you slot. So I think it's exciting. It would have been fun to play Houston. It also would have been they would have been underdogs for sure. And there's no guarantee they could get a win that Saturday, depending on who they're playing. But being in a tournament setting now, it's just going to add a little bit more prestige if they can get in that championship game or get in that 3rd place game. in terms of perception of this team leaving there. If they finish top 4 in this event, it's certainly going to help some buzz. Whether it helps, actual net rankings or not, it's irrelevant. It won't. But if they get in that championship game, they'll play for sure some highly ranked quad 1 teams. So Creighton, is a bad matchup on paper with Kalkbrenner, the 7-footer. Don't want to play him. But, the only thing better than beating Oregon once in a season is twice. Good old Dana Altman. Rutgers has some history there through the transfer portal. But in terms of, and that doesn't mean Rutgers will beat Oregon at all this season, but they're going to be a buzzworthy team. So it would be fascinating if Rutgers gets them on that Saturday. Of course, Texas A&M. And then San Diego State has been fantastic the last 2 years. They're going to be good again. So it's going to be a great event. And you know what? If Rutgers can get out of Vegas 2-1, regardless of where they finish, that's going to be huge for the non-conference schedule. It's really not going to, even though they lose the opportunity of playing potentially the number 1 team in the country, AP poll, net rankings, all that, Ken Pom in Houston, they could potentially get a better matchup and a win out of it that they maybe not would have had they played Houston. So certainly more to play for now. The fact that it's a championship tournament. So a great big test for this team and makes it even more exciting now. Now moving on to the news reported pretty much by all the Rutgers beat writers in terms of Adidas. And I saw it several places, but it turns out that the contract was never re-signed after the 2023 school year, 22-23. And there's simply an apparel deal in place, meaning Rutgers was ordering uniforms at a discounted rate, but we're not actually sponsored by Adidas anymore. And this all kind of was spurred by the fact that Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey were always planning to wear Nike this year. And now it appears that Nike is the front runner in terms of Rutgers looking for a new apparel partner. This is just such a wild 2 months for Rutgers athletics. Losing its athletic director, having the start that they've had with football, the hype with basketball, and now not having an apparel deal in the middle of the school year is fascinating. And, they're surely looking to get this done ASAP before the basketball season. You already have Ace and Dylan wearing Nikes, and you have to imagine uniform changes, all that. There's a lot going into it. Credit to the Knight Report with some great reporting and all this. And they mentioned that the GM at Nike is a Rutgers alum, and he's new to Nike. So that helps too. Have to imagine this getting out now, and Rutgers essentially through sourcing and reporting that this Adidas deal does not exist. Nike has some leverage here, but certainly Rutgers has some leverage because of basketball with Ace and Dylan. This would be a huge boon, I think, for recruiting. EYBL is by far the preeminent AAU circuit. So to be a Nike school in men's basketball, women's basketball, you also have Hugh Miller is signed to the Jordan brand. So being signed to Nike as a basketball program is a big thing. Football, it's going to help too. And pretty much everyone loves Nike. Soccer is probably the one where they prefer Adidas over Nike. But this would definitely be a win for the athletic department, upgrading to Nike. Regardless of what the financials are, I think just perception-wise, and also just from what you hear from players, they just prefer to wear Nikes. So student athletes. So more to come on those details, but it's just a fascinating time at Rutgers right now. What a wild roller coaster it's been. And certainly some down periods. We have football coming up on Friday at USC. Heavy dogs there, but USC certainly reeling also after losing 4 of their last 5. I'll have David Anderson on for a full preview. Probably release that on Thursday afternoon. And it's going to be a late kick after the World Series. Yankees-Dodgers should be very interesting. Can this team get off the mat? Greg Schiano touching on some of his comments from Monday. Listen, it's hard to sound good when you've lost 3 in a row. And he was, honest with some injury issues. And I think the most interesting part of what he said was perhaps making some poor decisions on Saturday against UCLA and playing players that were injured and maybe thinking that if they were 80% healthy, more or less, paraphrasing what he said, that was better than not playing them. And maybe that didn't work out to its best. And he has to figure out who's going to get on the plane on Wednesday to be able to play. You have 74 players that can suit up for this road game and making those decisions is going to be key. So it's going to be interesting to see how much personnel changes we see. Will that availability report grow? Will it shrink? We'll see. Certainly a huge opportunity for Rutgers to change the narrative here with football. But it's going to be an uphill battle, no doubt. And then you go into the bye week. Rutgers, perhaps maybe in that bye week, that'll be right before the basketball season. Maybe they get the deal done with their new brand. Hopefully it is Nike. And I just think it's a huge benefit for the athletic department if they can get that done. I saw Jerry Carino's numbers he reported. I mean, essentially, they paid Adidas over $3 million over the course of the contract, over a 6-year contract. So it's not like they made money from it, but certainly there is some perception positives that come from being associated with Nike. And I think, I have some Nike gear that was Rutgers before the Adidas deal, and I kind of liked it better in terms of even just like shirts and stuff. So we'll see what happens there. This is a fascinating time, a lot going on. Men's hoops, Player Air Festival, it's going to be off the hook in terms of excitement level for Feast Week. Rutgers fans been yearning for a Feast Week tournament for hoops for a long time, and boy, do we get a special one. And plenty of hoops previews coming up. I'm going to have a full Big Ten preview coming up. I'm going to have Jerry Carino on soon. I'm going to go through a whole minutes and scoring projections. Sleepers Media has a video out, friends of the podcast, talking about projections for Rutgers this year. Exciting stuff in terms of what they think. Very optimistic. So plenty of preseason preview coverage still to come for Rutgers basketball. Plenty of in-season coverage for Rutgers football. We'll talk about some Olympic sports soon, too. And thanks so much for listening and watching once again here at the Scarlet Faithful podcast.